Hi, and welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty, and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land where this conversation takes place, land which was never ceded, land where communities came together to eat seasonally, locally, and without exhausting resources. I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Today I'm chatting to Diego Cossio. Inspired by his father's cooking and baking and by the food his grandmother made, Diego started his journey to become a chef in South Africa, where his family had moved from Peru. And he made sure he did part of his internship at the top restaurant in Johannesburg. Throughout his career, ambition and a drive to be better and better has propelled him from one elevated dining venue to another, both overseas and in Australia. And he's now at the dining room at Lancemore Lindenderry Red Hill on the Mornington Peninsula. His summer degustation menu is all about local produce, and Diego prefers to let the ingredients speak for themselves without too much fussing from him. Although, diners will notice some Peruvian nuances coming through. I chatted to Diego while it poured with rain outside, and we're both hoping that summer's just round the corner so that we can all go and enjoy his menu in the warm sun. I hope you love listening to this conversation as much as I enjoyed being part of it. Hi Diego, it's Jo here from Conversation with the Chef. How are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for your time today. I was just thinking, it's a bit ironic because I wanted to talk to you about the summer menu and we're back in one of those wintry days again.
Yeah.
So now, Diego, you have been at the dining room.
I've been there for 18 months. I started in May last year.
That's right. And it's a pretty beautiful looking place and a really lovely, the Mornington Peninsula is just amazing. And the photos I saw of it are just lush and green, which I suppose we have to thank the rain for at the moment.
Yeah.
So, Diego, I like to always hear a bit about the journey, your journey as a chef, and where you've been and where you are now, and the kinds of things you're interested in. So maybe we will just start back at the start. And did you always know that you wanted to be a chef?
Yeah, from a pretty young age, I would like be in the kitchen with my grandma or my dad. Dad used to bake banana bread and cakes and make desserts and make pizzas. So I would always just hang around with that and wait for him to come home on the weekends and make something to eat. My grandma was a very, very good chef, or very good cook, sorry. She never really taught me anything, but there was always food around. She used to cook heaps and we would always just eat. And then when I was maybe 16 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a chef. Although my mom wasn't too impressed, she wanted me to go to uni. Yeah.
And did you grow up in Peru?
Yeah, I lived there until I was 16.
Yep.
And then we moved to South Africa.
Okay.
The whole family. And that's where I trained as a chef. I trained in South Africa. So, yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. And is it the same sort of apprenticeship program as here that you would...
There's no such thing as an apprenticeship there. It's almost I did a 2-year course, full-time studies for the first year with some practical internships, and then my second year was a full internship, full-time work, and I just had to hand in like projects and assessments and things like that. So yeah.
And while you were training, did you have any particular leanings towards pastry or fine dining, or at that stage more general?
I wanted to be a well-rounded chef, so I always had interest in pastry, and I just wanted to do a bit of everything. And I just wanted to work at the top of my game. So when they asked me for my internship, where would I like to go, I chose what at the time was the best restaurant in South Africa. So I managed to get in there, and it was good. It was a very eye-opening experience for me. Like, I was maybe 18, 19 years old, straight into the kitchen. My English wasn't very good. It was tough, but I learned heaps, and yeah, it was good. It was a good experience for me.
That's good, because sometimes I guess when you're doing your training and you've got that love and whatever, and then getting into a kitchen of a top restaurant, Um, I imagine it's quite stressful, so that could put some people off. What was the atmosphere like when you were working there?
It was insane. I mean, I used to work with the owner, head chef was an Italian man, second generation, but he was Italian. He was super volatile.
Hmm.
Um, but a really nice person, like an excellent person, excellent boss. Really looked after me because I was by myself living in Johannesburg. My family was elsewhere.
Hmm.
So those guys were my family basically. I used to go there on my days off and help them move chairs around, say the restaurant, prep. So he loved me, but he did give me a hard time. Not just me, everyone.
Yeah.
But you learn from that, and I guess my goal was to go to work and not get yelled at. And when you don't get yelled at, it's good. It's a good day.
Oh.
Yeah, but it just sort of builds your character, your determination, and I was always very ambitious. I am still very ambitious. I just wanted to be the best, and that was the price to pay, I guess.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of food were you cooking there?
At the time, it was was called, I guess, fusion. So we did a lot of Asian influences, um, French ingredients. We used to get a lot of things flown in from France, like foie gras and mushrooms and things like that, and meat. So I got really, really good exposure to ingredients that a young fella wouldn't get these days. So I was very lucky, and it kind of taught me. It broke a lot of boundaries because Dario, who was the chef there, he wasn't trained formally, so he just sort of made things up along the way, and he had no rules. And we did a lot of very, very strange things that I probably wouldn't do to this day, but for a young chef, it's very exciting, and it opens your eyes to the fact that there's no rules, so you make your own rules. So I kind of like that very much.
Yeah, that's what a great place to start. It's just,
Yeah.
certainly, I'm hearing you say you're ambitious, but really starting off at the best place in the country you're living in is what an incredible springboard.
Yeah, no, it was very good, very good.
So from there, what was your next move? Were you already thinking about where you would go next?
Um, I moved back home to Peru for maybe for 8 months. I went back home. I wanted to learn a bit about Peruvian food, Peruvian ingredients, because it's always been very interesting. As it is now, like actually, there's a big boom about the Peruvian ingredients and food. So at the time, I just wanted to learn, get exposure to the food that I grew up eating, and I got myself into again one of the best traditional Peruvian restaurants in the city. I had to work there for free for a month because they didn't have a spot for me. But I said to him like, okay, I'll work until until someone leaves, I guess, and there's a position. So I was there for like maybe 6 weeks before there was an opportunity, and I took it. Um, but it was good experience. But going from basically living by myself and being able to support myself to having to live with mom and dad, and I wasn't getting paid very much, working 6 days a week. I made the move to Australia. My older brother, was already living here, and he said, "You should come. There's heaps of jobs for chefs and whatever." So after 8 months, I decided to come to Australia. The easiest visa for me to get was student visa. So that was my plan: get my student visa, come to Australia, find a job, and get sponsored. So I came to Australia to study pastry because I already done my cookery training. So I did my cert 4 in pastry, and then I took it from there, got sponsored, and eventually got my permanent residency.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I see you've worked at really impressive places here as well. I mean, Gimlet, Marion, Key, Tetsuya. That's you don't there's no downtime for you, is there?
No, I mean I'm always thinking of what's next. So I ended up in Perth when I came to Australia.
Okay.
But I always had my eyes on the best restaurants in Australia, so they're obviously on the East Coast. So as soon as I settled my paperwork, by then I was married. I said to my wife, we're going to go to Sydney. I wanted to go to Sydney. She wanted to go to Melbourne. So we made a little deal. She said to me, pick 3 restaurants in Sydney. If you get a job in any of those 3, we move to Sydney. Otherwise, we go to Melbourne. So that's how I ended up in Tets. I called them for a trial, basically, just for like a stage, like a work experience thing. So I went there, and luckily for me, like there was a time when everybody was leaving, so there was a position. They offered me a position on the day, and we moved to Sydney. So yeah.
Yeah, so, and then you've also been in London and Singapore. When did those opportunities happen?
Yeah, again, I always, again, it's just, I was always wanting to train, be better and better and better. So from TEDS, I moved to Key. I did a year there. I did like 8 months at TEDS, a year at Key. And then I said to my wife, let's go to London. Like, the library was a big thing at the time. Everybody was talking about bread. And I thought, we'll go to London. So we got our paperwork ready to go, and we went just for, we were meant to go for 2 years, but due to a family circumstances, we came back. So yeah, I worked for bread for a year. Came back to Australia, to Perth, to look after my mother-in-law. And then that's when I was offered my first head chef role with a guy called Russell Blakey, who I worked for in Margaret River. So he offered me the head chef role at his wine bar.
And how different was that, that step up to head chef? Because there's a lot more going on than just being really good at food, isn't there?
Yeah, I was ready for it. I felt ready for it. Obviously, you learn a lot of things along the way, and it was good. It was very intense. So I came back from London from like a very, very intense environment, and I was, I was doing basically the same thing in a bistro wine bar, and it didn't really work out very well for me. It's not the right place. It's not the right environment. Learn from that, I guess. If I look back, and that was only like 7 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know. 7 years ago. There's a lot of things that I learned to understand. Patience, be patient with myself, with the staff. Understanding, it's right place, right sort of intensity. But yeah, no, I was ready for it. Basically, it's the best advice that I got given in London was Brett one day said to me, "You are the head chef of your section. Nothing goes past you." And that stayed with me because I run my kitchen the same way I used to run my section. So always clean, always organized, check everything in my section. It just sort of escalates to like a bigger, in a larger scale, but it's the same principles apply. And that's kind of how I run my kitchens, I try to have eyes on everything, and I just run them tight. I order what I need when I need it. So yeah, I was definitely ready, but it was good. It was a good experience for me to do that. Yeah.
So thinking about all the different places you've cooked in the different countries and I guess different cuisines, what are some different things you have to be aware of when you go from one country to another and different types of cooking, I guess? What are some things that surprised you perhaps along the way?
Well, like for example, when I went to Sydney, especially at the 2 years at Key, there is a lot of stuff, and that's there's a lot of chefs, and that's what the food. That's the business plan. That's what the food requires. When I went to London, it was only 6, or on a bad day 6, on a good day 9 of us, and that was just insane. Like it's extremely busy, extremely. I learned to cook there basically. You gotta forget everything you've done. So in Australia or in Sydney, at least you can kind of cover yourself. You can hide in the corner and prep something. Whereas in London, you're always exposed, and it's a lot more intense. Like every restaurant there is like a lot more intense. The culture is different. People work very, very hard. Yeah, and then like Singapore is different. Like we were. There's a big expat community, and they told us like, do not swear, do not scream because they will walk out.
Wow.
Yeah, like they will walk out. They don't like that. So they're very the culture shock. So we were very mindful of that. We did lose a lot of stuff, but it's very different. You just kind of in Singapore we had to overstuff the kitchen, although we couldn't really have enough staff, but we kind of overstuffed it to reduce the hours because they would not work that many hours either. So yeah, those are the things that we had to do, but obviously they affect your business, your business plan. So, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess too, so you must have, 16 years of cooking and all those experiences, you must have a real repertoire of recipes and techniques and things. Do you Do you write things down, or do you just hold them all in your head and your body to recreate
No,
later? Or what's your
you
method?
know, it's funny because I was telling my brother that I work with my brother. I've worked with my brother in the past. So he was a chef. So when I took my first head chef role, I was quite uh, arrogant. I'd say, you know, like I would develop a recipe and be like, I don't want to write it down. I don't want the recipe because I want to keep moving forward.
Mm.
And then when I started working in Melbourne, I kind of needed recipes, you know, because I was working at Marion and we were making tarts and things like that. And I was like, I don't even have a recipe for that. So I would always call him and say, "Where's my recipe? You want this recipe?" Now I record everything. You know, it's yeah. I got a now I got a very very big repertoire of recipes that I've put together for different reasons. You know, like I did a bit of take home meals during lockdown, so I always refer back to my older recipes and things like that, and that came in very very handy because when you do, we used to do like boxes, take home meals, but they would change every week. And when you are cooking for 100 boxes or whatever it is, you need a recipe. You can just wing it. So you know, like they came in really handy, and that's when I also developed a lot of recipes.
Mm.
And I continue to develop recipes. You know, like I got pieces of paper everywhere that I need to type. Actually, today, yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna put them into the folder. But yeah, I record things now.
Yeah. Um, I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about the food you're doing right now and on the peninsula, and I guess you're using some of the great produce from the Mornington Peninsula. But can you maybe it's a degustation menu, is that right, at the dining room?
Yeah, we've got a set menu, 5 courses. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that I'm reading on the menu, I guess it's just an idea, perhaps. New season asparagus, the lamb loin, spanner crab. Is that what's on at the moment?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe talk me through some of your ideas. What do you want people to experience when they sit down to eat through your
Um,
menu?
I place a lot of focus on ingredients, and that's what I said to everyone. You know, like when people come and say, "Oh, that was amazing," I said, "I did nothing. I just put a piece of lamb, a bit of artichokes, and some kohlrabi on the plate. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's just sort of like people talk. Yeah, hey, they're like, "Oh, could you tell us about your what was the word? Your background or your I don't know, something like that." And I said, like, this nothing to look about me. It's all about ingredients. Like I'm not doing anything, you know. So that's something that I really put focus on. I try to get the best that I can possibly get that works within my budget. I treat it very simply, very respectfully, and I just put it on the plate. Like one of the biggest, almost like dishes at the moment is we were doing this spanner crab with a cucumber gazpacho sort of thing. And then like green almonds, and it's literally a bit of cucumber gazpacho, crab dress on the plate, some mint oil, and some green almonds and flowers, and it's just delicious. But I mean, like the idea for me came from like it's the weather's starting to change. It's sunny. It's a bit refreshing. It's more. It's a nice refreshing way to start your meal.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't believe in like touching food too much. Maybe with desserts I get a bit more creative, but when it's on the savory dishes, I just try to put them on the plate as simple as possible and just really highlight the quality of the products that I'm using.
And because it is in that wine region, do you have to be mindful of the wines that are going with the food?
Uh, yes and no.
Mm.
Luckily, they work around me.
Good.
So, yeah, they don't really well. Only when we done like special events with like wines, they given me like we need to do this, and they give me a brief on what sort of food to make. But in the restaurant, no, I got like quite a lot of freedom. I don't really use many spices. I try to keep my flavors nice and clean. So I guess that helps them with a wine pairing. But yeah, no, um, I don't necessarily cook a dish too much of wine. It's kind of the other way around. They
Mm.
they match up wine to the food. Yeah.
And tell me about your 8-year-old sourdough starter named Matilda.
Yes. um, I always like baking breads and things like that. I got a lot of interest in brewing, fermenting. When we went to Singapore, one of the very, very first things we did is start sourdough. And I was there from October, and the restaurant only opened in January, so we had a lot of time to do research and development. And Sam, who was the owner, said, "Do you want to make a sourdough?" And we were thinking, what do we do? Do we make our own bread? Do we buy bread? Anyway, during all this time, I developed a sourdough. We named her Matilda. And that's where the name came from. So when I came to Australia, the very first thing I did is get a hold of some sourdough. So I landed a job in the South Bank in Melbourne, and we used to make our own sourdough. So I stole a bit of, I didn't steal, I asked for it. So I took a piece of their sourdough, who was 3 years old at the time. And then with that, I changed it, the consistency, to a consistency that I liked better. And I started baking at home. And then when I came to Lindenderry, I started baking with that here, and I named her Matilda as well, just because Singapore is, or the restaurant Whitegrass in Singapore is a place that I hold very dear to my heart. So, that's, yeah. So yeah, I think she's 8 years old now. It was 3 years old when I got her in 2018. So yeah, 8 years old.
Well, it all sounds lovely. Like a real treat for people to be once it is sunny. Well, I'm sure it's delicious when it's raining as well, but it's always nice to have summer food when the sun's shining.
Yeah.
But just as a last question, Diego, what would your advice be for young people who are thinking about becoming chefs?
My advice: work hard, and have determination. There's no, I don't know, like like I was telling someone the other day, like I don't consider myself necessarily very talented. I've just trained very hard, and if you got that goal in your head, and then you just keep working and honing your skills and learning new skills and trying to be better every day. I'm 38 years old and I want to do my fish better every day. I still got that sort of drive to be better every day. That's the only thing I can say to young people is like, don't give up and keep trying harder and harder and harder. And if you become excellent at something, then try to be faster at it. I'm in a continuous race with myself, and keeps me busy, keeps me entertained, and keeps me not sitting. So keeps me moving. So that's what and I've always been like that. So that's what I would say to people. There's no you can't learn skills. You just cannot learn attitude and desire, and you need to have fire in your belly to be good at something and become better every day. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time today on the phone. I must get out to Red Hill one of these days because it sounds delicious, and it'd be lovely to meet you in person.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Bye.
Cheers, you too. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Diego Cossio. If you liked what you heard, I'm on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef, and you can read the chat at www.conversationwithachef.com. I would so love it if you told a friend about my chats, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Once again, thanks for listening and have a great day.